FM, 93.7 FM, and it is Politics Now, like I said, and my name is Ernest. One of the major problems Nigeria has had to contend with since the return to civilian rule in 1999, and even long before then, in previous electoral cycles, and in times like 1959, 1979, 1983, 1993, 1999, 2007, 2011, and of course 2015, and of course up to 2029, has been the specter of electoral violence in the form of killings, attacks, assaults, assassinations, affray before, during, and after elections. In 1965, following the assembly elections in the southwest, Nigeria recorded a blowout of violent attacks, characterized in some of the reports as Wetie or the Wild Wild West. It was standard practice in the First Republic for major political parties and leaders to engage the services of thugs, otherwise known as able-bodied men. Their job was to protect political leaders and help rig votes on election day. This became an established pattern in Nigeria's elections, which are regarded more by the stakeholders not as democratic processes, but war by another name. In 1983, during the Second Republic, there was post-election violence in Ondo State involving Adekunle Ajasin and Akin Omoboriowo, the ugliness of which was fully captured in Dari Babarinsa's book on the matter, House of War, which was published in 2003. Both the state and the political establishment participated in the promotion of this ugly phenomenon so badly that it became a standard practice, or rather feature, of Nigerian politics. Many of the thugs will eventually, after the elections, show up as persons of influence. Many of the political thugs who do not get rewarded for their efforts or who fall out with the leaders within their cells end up becoming criminals or a threat to the established order. It is for this reason that every election season, politicians are constantly told to eschew violence, and they are made to pledge commitments to uphold reason, decency, and civility. In 2014, Nigeria witnessed ahead of the 2015 general elections the emergence of a non-governmental organization, the National Peace Committee, led by former head of state, General Salami Abubakar, and the Bishop of the Catholic Church of Nigeria, Matthew Hassan Kuka. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, a peace accord was signed on the 28th of September 2022. But the Peace Committee, led by General Abdul Salami Abubakar, yesterday raised concerns over threats to the peaceful conduct of the elections. The Abdul Salami Abubakar-led National Peace Committee has called on candidates to rein in their spokespersons and supporters to make electioneering campaigns violence-free. Expressing concern over the wave of violence at political rallies, the NPC decried the use of intemperate language, intimidation, and outright violence by party supporters. The NPC said the development, if not curtailed, could undermine the peace accord signed by all presidential candidates at the International Conference Center, Abuja, on September 28, especially following recent attacks witnessed in places like Kaduna and Maiduguri, as well as attacks on INEC facilities. Today on the program, we take a look at the concerns raised over threats to electoral violence, where preparations going into the 2023 general elections is concerned. Why has this become an important issue to address despite the peace accord signed with recent attacks on INEC facilities, attacks on campaign grounds, for instance, in Kaduna and Borno, and caution party representatives to make this campaign violence-free? Why aren't political actors abiding by this pact that we have seen signed? We have also seen attacks on facilities of INEC, which has also raised concerns for electoral umpire. What are the implications of these attacks? What dangers do they portend towards peaceful conduct of elections? Today on the program, we are joined by Jude Imagwe, a member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council and aide to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Jude, I want to welcome you to Politics Now.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Jude Gabriel Imagwe.
Okay, let's say Comrade Jude Gabriel Imagwe. Okay, so
advisor to the president on youth and students matters.
Okay.
Former president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS.
Jude Gabriel Imagwe. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to get that name so I can pronounce it right.
I'll get it right. I'll be the best.
Okay. All right. So Jude, you're very welcome to the studios of. All right. Now, you've heard that. Bearing in mind that we've actually signed a peace accord by all the presidential candidates. Well, why do you think? Recently, I think you have the PDP. Last
Correct.
week, you were in Maiduguri,
Correct.
Borno State, and there was some form of violence against your party campaign team. What do you think that portends?
It was not just in Maiduguri, I was in Kaduna too.
Okay.
I was in the rally in Kaduna where we had our presidential campaign rally in one of the stadiums of Fatura. The first instance, the government of Kaduna refused to give us the stadium we requested for and reduced that to one of the small stadiums in town. We accepted it in good faith. Then at the venue of our rallies, midway into it, people came in, breach of protocol, breach of security guards. There were a whole lot of security personnel around. So you question the rationale behind how you have security personnel protecting a venue of rally, and young fellows still have the temerity to come in with machetes, rods, water sticks. They went into the stadium, went into the rally field, not outside, in the field, and melted such degree of attack on our members. They stole some phones, disarmed some persons by collecting their wristwatch, collecting their monies, and cutting away with their valuables. That was in this rally venue. But in Borno, I think they didn't get their way to the rally venue because then again we had a review of our security movement. Okay. And so by this time it was when we were going to the show of Bonu's Palace, knowing to where that there's usually a restriction of certain degree of security personnel finding themselves in there. And nobody had ever anticipated that a high reverend office like that, like the throne of the Oshowo of Borno, some persons may want to go there to constitute nuisance or act in a miscreant nature. But it still happened. It is what it is. But like you said,
Jude, it can't be what it is.
No, I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, like it obviously as it is now, it is what it is. It now takes us to what we need to do. Now, and that now takes me back to, like you started by talking about the peace accord. I feel if the threat we had in democracy in 2014 to 2015 was that there was high tensions and the expectation of a failed country predicted by a lot of all lookers was that there was going to be crisis, and the peace accord doused the situation. Between 2015 to 2023, there are other dimensions that have taken its course. There was a 2019 election. What was the outcome of it? What was citizens' resistance? What is citizen participation? What is citizen activities? Now in 2023, what are citizens' expectations? What is provoking young people to wanting to vote? What is driving their quest of wanting a new government? And now when you put all these parameters together, you understand the fact that now that the duty of the Peace Accord Committee should now move beyond just signing of peace.
Okay.
Now we now have to deepen a conversation among those that are even present in the signing of peace, and also those that are representative of those that are signing the peace, and the citizens of the nation. Now you don't sign peace and go to sleep, and you think that the peace will walk the talk itself. This must be done practically. This must be done by way of engagement and civic conversation. If you sign peace here, what are the implications of breaking these laws if you sign them? If you sign peace, what are the implications of not seeing these things come to reality? Now, so if you have gathered Nigerians, particularly those that want to lead us to sign peace, you have conversations among the parties. The parties now have to deepen it. Citizens have to now understand the consequences of having a failed state because of violence that is triggered from an electoral process. Okay. Yeah, even the active participants, the actors, those that want to rule the nation, will understand that if you destroy the nation you want to rule, there will be no nation for you to rule. Now, if you start by violence and people begin to melt your government with violence, you are going to be stiff resistance when you become government. So these are the conversations. Then again, there's something I observed in Kaduna, and I feel that the security agencies too will equally assist. On the part of INEC, they are trying their best to ensure that we have free, fair, and transparent elections by some of the policies reforms that they have driven in the last 3-4 years. But my worry was that in Kaduna, on the day where PDP was to have their rally, there were two other main activity in that same Kaduna, which was not healthy.
That was very interesting.
It wasn't healthy because I feel that the duty of security agencies is to advise. is to say that you have this A program today. Can you, the other parties make an adjustment? The proximity from where they had the PDP rally to where they were having the Arewa town hall meeting, where the APC presidential candidate was going to go.
Do you think that was a deliberate effort to undermine the PDP rally?
I wouldn't. The truth is that I don't like to be a messenger of fake news. So I'm only saying that if it was managed properly, it will not. It most likely will not have degenerated, because then we have a nation that we are already crying of under policing, and we are now having 3 major activities running time to time in a state where it's already cried to be an under-police state, a state too that still has these security challenges. So you have the attention of the police. To have 3 programs. Firstly, let me say, the state is suffering from security crisis. One, so it means that there are a lot of personnel that will be on the front line. They will be on the front line. Then you are having a PDP presidential rally. It means you still put some personnel to go there to provide security. You are not equally again having 2 other presidential candidates in that same city, that same town, that same day.
I can see.
So you understand that, So it's tight for them, but again, it's something that was avoidable.
Yeah, but Jude, let's go back. There's always been this challenge in our country. But whose job is it? Whose job is it to deepen democracy? When I study, I look at those we borrowed democracy from. The British, the Americans, we use their constitution, they are our colonial masters and all of that. They do not sign peace accords. And we also see that their leaders are first to obey the law, and in that process, deepen democracy just by their actions. In Nigeria, we have it that to be in authority, to be in office, is an opportunity to be arrogant and to use impunity, to use siren, to chase people out of the road. And then the citizens buy into that, and before we know it, everybody is acting in impunity, and it results in violence. And it says that the political actors, the leaders, they do not themselves know the tenets of democracy. We've had presidents, PDP presidents, we now have an APC president, and when we go back into the records, we see the acts of impunity that they themselves got involved in. President Obama said one time he was making a speech, he said, the president must be the first to obey the law, so that everybody will queue up behind the law if the president subjects himself to the law. So, Jude, what do you say to that when people blame the political leaders, including your own leaders who have been in high office before, that they failed to imbibe the democratic norms? That's why we have these problems.
Yes, there are 2 dimensions to it. The first is the citizens' responsibility, and the second is those whom the citizens have elected. The people we call our leaders, they don't just throw themselves up and become president, governors, members of the House of Representatives and senators.
That, Jude?
I'm going somewhere.
No, Jude, I don't want us to derail, because the issue of the parties, like your own party, already rigging elections even before nominations by saying people should pay 40 million.
If you
remove the good candidates already.
If you have the answers to it, I'm not sure you should have allowed me to. You should have asked me the questions.
That's what I'm saying. You said the people we vote for. When your party throws up people who are money bags, and the people we want to vote for are not there, what do you want the people to do? But back to the issue of deepening democracy, Jude.
Everybody has their own opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, you may be very entitled to your opinion and hold it strong. And so also I should have mine and hold mine strong. It depends on our ability to convince those that are listening out there. Now, if you ask a question, you expect me to give an answer. And you also should wait for me to give an answer. That is why I'm here.
That is correct, Jude.
Now, when you
accuse the citizens of voting.
But I said it's a 2-dimensional thing.
Okay.
I said the citizen has a role, and those that they have elected to equally have a role. Now, if you elect a man to lead you, and the man does wrong, and you cannot summon courage to hold the man to accountability, then you have a problem. Now, one of the major problems you have in the developed society is the fact that citizens are actively involved in how the states of affairs are being run.
Okay.
Citizens are concerned. Citizens challenge authorities of government. Because why? They invest their time to ensure that these persons we have elected must succeed. Now, again, on the second aspect of it is that policy formulation and policy implementations are usually driven by citizens-oriented people. You have elected a government. Fine. no matter the proximity upon which the government come to bear, we can make analysis of like the 2015 how President Jonathan was unseated from office and President General Buhari came to become president, because there were a lot of things, narratives that were thrown out against the President Jonathan's administration. Yes, it was no fault of his, but likely the marketers and those that sold General Buhari to the Nigerian people had a strong persuasive conviction to convince the Nigerian. They got convinced. Now, but should it have ended on electing a man? No. After election comes the reactivities of citizens. Okay. Citizens now have a duty to begin to challenge every step a government make. Yeah, in our own country, because we have constitutional problem or we have institutional problem where institutions that should protect citizens are usually made to protect government, and so citizens' rights are taken away from them. You go to the street like our brothers across the country that woke up and said that there is serious poor handling of police and human relationship. There is poor funding of the police and the rest, and they came up with NSAS and they said we must end this police brutality. In a developed world, it's a right of citizens to do that. But back here in our country, if you do that, the way the president responded to it, he called it a coup. And that does not in any way amount to being a coup. It's a right of expression. That is what citizens' rights are. Now, so if you say that there is a failed process of deepening democracy, we will now begin to ask ourselves, what is our attitude? What are attitudes of government? What are attitudes of those who have elected? And what are attitudes of those that have elected the people that are leading us? I say sometimes that the people that are leading us are people that we should be leading, but we have allowed them to lead us. Because there are characters that makes up a leader. A leader must have a very strong human empathy. If you lack that, you must be emotionally intelligent. You must be sensitive. You must have the ability, see, both mentally and physically, you must be balanced. Now, if you have one and you don't have the other, and you have a set of people around you that don't even have either of them, then we move towards a failed state. I'll give an instance. We've had flood issues in the last couple of months. The loss of people that have lost their homes, lost their source of livelihood. The president has not visited any of these sites. The president has not sat on any of the national television to personally address this thing. In the developed world, they would have gone there. You would have seen them do that. But what are citizens' reactions to it? If you want to talk, religion will come in, ethnicity will come in, party affiliation will come in. These things don't take place like that in the other part of the world. When we are comparing them, we look at some of the indicators that equally make our own case a peculiar case and a difficult case, and now ask ourselves the honest question: what can we do differently? What we can do differently is a build-up of 2023. Citizens must go back first and make a self-reflection. What kind of country do I want to live in? How do I want to be governed? Who do I want to govern me? How will I get this person that will govern me? Yes, the process of election through parties is clearly another one, like you tried to mention initially. It's one that is usually bastardized and made for those that are bourgeois to hijack the process. And now, but that alone cannot make somebody the president. Okay. Now, you still have citizens' engagement and citizens' participation. If you watch, the 2023 election is different. Unlike before, you would have said party A and party B. Now we have more than 3 parties. On the front line, they are jumping and juggling. You cannot easily call where the shot is going to be, because young people are aggrieved, young people are provoked, young people have made up their mind, they are determined and they are moving. And anybody that attempts to stand in their front, they know what to do. But, my brother, election, like I said from the beginning, goes beyond voting. It starts after voting. If you have voted, the man that you have voted, how is that man representing you? What do you demand of him? When the man comes to the hometown, do you ask him what are his role in the National Assembly? What policy is making in government house? Or you are telling him that you have ABC as a problem? That is our attitude, that is the value. That is what I feel, that why I said initially that it's a two-edged thing. Okay. It's between the citizens and those that the citizens have elected. But I must tell you that every product of the society starts from the failure of a classroom. Every product of the society starts from the failure of a classroom. Go to the developed world and see those people that are leading them. They tell you where they are coming from. They have histories. They have stories. They have antecedents. They are tied to somewhere. They are looking back to some of those institutions they cannot betray or allow these institutions to betray them. They have name and they have value and culture that they want to keep and integrity to protect. Where are we coming from?
Who are we looking up to? Where are our institutions? Those moral institutions that should check the SSs of young people, check the SSs of those that we have elected, even the leaders. That's what I'm saying. Take the SSs of the leaders. Normally if you go to church, people should have respect that I'm in the presence of God and I should be scared of my religious leader. Do we still allow this institution to play their role? What about traditional institutions? What role are we giving to them to play in a system like this? Because ours is different. If you go to America, you go to the United Kingdom, you go to France, they don't have traditional institution where somebody goes to sit down and say, until I see a traditional ruler before I'm allowed to become ABC. Until I see a religious leader before I'm allowed to be. We are discussing Muslim, Christian ticket and all that. These are things that they don't discuss. The citizens drive the process. You call for town hall meetings, some persons will say they cannot attend town hall meeting because they have other busy engagement they want to. But you can't try that outside because you must allow yourself to be engaged by the citizens. And the citizens must ask you questions and know the kind of leadership you want to offer and provide for them. If you don't discuss with them, they will equally not vote for you.
Okay.
It's a simple thing.
All right. We have, that's the voice of Comrade Jude Gabriel Emagwe, member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Committee, joining us this afternoon on Politics Now to look at the issue of electoral violence and the deepening of democracy in our country. We will take a short break now. When we come back, he's here. We will still be finding out from him exactly. We have great voices like him, like this in the PDP, and we're just hearing from him for the very first time. So why is that? Are the youth being suppressed even in the PDP, just like we are? The youth are being suppressed around our country. We'll be finding out from Comrade Jude Gabriel Emagwe when we come back in just a moment.
They look for trouble.
You're still tuned to Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja, and you can check your time now. This is about 26 minutes to 4, and we're here this afternoon in Politics Now, joined by Comrade Jude Gabriel Emagwe, a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP, to look at the issue of electoral violence and how we can deepen democracy in our country. Jude, thank you for staying here with us and investing your time with us this afternoon to share your knowledge with us. And now going forward, Jude, what do we need? You've talked about citizens. People have said that probably our background of coming from military rule, military dictatorship, where citizens are suppressed, jack boots are put on our head, guns are pointed. Like you said in your statements earlier, that those who are supposed to protect citizens are not appropriated by the people in authority to protect them and used against the citizens. Do you think this is true, that this has helped to suppress the voice of Nigerians based on the fact that from the military rule era, we could not talk? You'll be beaten, you'll be detained. Even till now, people still get arrested and detained arbitrarily by those in authority.
I would say it's a system problem. It's a system problem in the sense that, like one of those popular words I've always used is that the government have understood the citizens, but the citizens have still not understand the politicians. Government have known how to trick citizens. Government have known how to turn the sword against citizens and make them to fight among themselves. But the citizens have not equally sat down to understand that this politricking, it is an ambush by government most times to use against them and use to oppress them. Oppressive tendency is part of political way of getting to power. Some persons may do it by coercion, some persons may do it by violence, but some persons may do it peacefully. It therefore depends on the maturity of who is ruling. And one of the major cardinal problems that normally break down into electoral violence is problem of trust. Now, when you feel that an institution is going to be used against you, you must resist it. When you find that agencies that are supposed to protect you are not protecting you, you must resist it. When you find the umpires of an electoral process is not being transparent, then you must resist it. And that is why I'm saying that where we are going in 2023, INEC is tactically exonerating themselves from all the fears that Nigerians should have tied to the electoral process, ranging by the policies, the reforms that they have come up with. They've come up with beautiful and fantastic reforms that, yes, we may not have 100% credible election, but we have we have removed from where it was before. It's just like it was during President Goodluck Jonathan's time. We diverted from where you see people coming to steal electoral buses. We left where you come to see people stealing and carrying firearms around the electoral places to cutting off for ballot. There was peaceful transition, peaceful conduct of election. Now the other dimension that is not taken is now money. Now people now exchange money for vote. That is another form of electoral violence. Violence does not translate to just carrying firearms using. See, if you disrupt a process, and the worst form of corruption is electoral corruption. Because yes, that's the worst form of corruption. Because the best way of kickstarting a country is having the best set of persons rule the people. Now, when you now compromise the process that the best set of persons should rule the people, it means you have compromised the growth and the future of that country. And that is the worst thing that can happen to any nation. Having an electoral process compromised by way of corruption and having money bags find their way. Now, in discussing the violence part of it, I think our political actors and political gladiators to equally have a role to play. And both the religious leader and the traditional institutions, they also equally have a role to play before we talk about fathers and mothers. Now, what I'm saying is the fact that you don't expect to stand on the podium rather than talking about the things you will do for the Nigerian people, your covenant with the Nigerian people, you become abusive, you become insultive. I will not want to mention any name today since we want to see how we can cope these excesses. I expect people that want to rule a nation to first demonstrate that by their conduct, demonstrate that by their character.
Let me just chip in there, Jude, please. Why? Because I have been asking about it. We've been looking at characteristics. You are going to do this, build more railways, bring light, bring this, bring that. We've not looked at the issue of morals. That what is the moral standing of this presidential candidate? You want to be the leader of Nigeria. You must be an embodiment of moral rectitude so you can transmit that to the people, and then we can have this change in society as the leader is reflected in the people. So just like aligning with what you are just saying.
You know,
why is that not so? Why is this moral issue not in the front burner, even from the people electorate?
You remember I said that we have a problem of attitude. Yeah, and attitude actually is tied to either acceptance or negligence of certain things that should make a society work.
Okay.
Now, if we develop an attitude of saying that whatever makes a system works is what we want, we will not cut corners, and we will not allow anybody that wants to cut corners rule us.
Enter into
Yeah.
position.
Now, if we hold our ground and say this is what we want, I've said that the total number of persons we elect, they are not close to the number of people they lead.
It's just a fraction.
Yeah, it's just a fraction of the number of people they lead. So if the number of people that they lead resolve to say that these people have not led us well, we keep behind our religion, we keep behind our tradition, we keep behind our political party, keep behind our ethnic differences, and wear one thing first, Nigeria. Because whether we like it or not, we were first born into Nigeria before we chose a religion. We were first born into Nigeria before we got into an ethnic group. We were first born into Nigeria before we became any political affiliated members. So it means that thing that we hold sacred and we come on with first, we must guide it. And in guiding this, they will now work in one resolve and in one accord to say enough is enough. The person that carries out this violence is a young man like you and me. The person you are meriting this violence upon is a young man like you and me. You carry firearm, you carry stick, you carry weapon of any form to inflict injury or by way of resulting to murder of anybody. That person shares the same blood and the same system with you. So that moral attitude must be reinculcated. It's a value. Unfortunately, the National Orientation System Agency is not doing some of these things that they should be doing. So citizens must understand about what their responsibilities are and their moral value. When you say that if a child is abused, you have a duty to defend that child. If a system is not working, you have a duty to make that system work. People are going into election in 2023. What are we looking up to? Are we looking up to an election where people will carry out ballot boxes? Who are the people that will do that? It's young generation. So let young generation now make a resolve that we have always been tagged for negative things. If they want to make references of people that have built this nation, they will say the general Gowons. But in their time, they were still youthful at nature when we did this. So we should not allow our generation to always be tagged to criminality or bad practices. Yeah, and say, okay, this generation is a wasted generation. So we can make that resolve and say, nobody will use us as political thugs. Nobody will use us as agents of disrupting electoral process. Nobody will use us as or tools to go to any social airspace to insult or carry false news or raise alarm that are not true. Nobody will use us as destructive tendency to national growth. All we need to do is to have conversation, civic engagement with people that want to rule us. They should tell us what they want to do. You see, it's going to be a covenant. If you follow the midterm American election, you understand what happened. The states where the Republicans were not doing well, they came back to explain why they were not doing well. The states where they were doing well, they did that same way with the Democrats. Now you have a duty to explain to citizens of your country why you are doing well and why you are not doing well. Now if trust is sealed between citizens and government, I tell you there will be minimal reasons for anybody to raise harm, minimal reasons for anybody to go into crime, because if a government says, I have this challenge, citizens are convinced out of sincerity that that government have that challenge. Then if the government says, I'm going to do ABC, even if it takes the government longer than when government wants to do it, that trust is established. But in the present situation we find ourselves, there is breach of trust, there's serious trust deficit. And so anything and everything you come to tell these folks and this generation that you want to do, they say, no.
They don't believe it.
You've deceived us the first time, you deceived us the second time, we cannot take it again now. You have given to us, let us give to you. And sometimes they don't want to give to you in the manner you want to receive it. They give to you in the manner they feel you should receive it. And even if you are not comfortable with it, it becomes wherever and crisis comes into and they say there is breakdown of law and order.
All right, you're hearing the voice of Gabriel Emagwe, and of course he's joining us this afternoon to discuss electoral violence in our country on Politics Now. You can actually join the conversation. I know you are enjoying listening to him as much as I am in the studio here, so you can call us on the studio line 0903-222-9797, 0903-222-9797. Better still, call the other number 0808 2222037, 0808-2222-037. We have a third number you can also dial, 0818 22 22 205. 0818 22 22 205. Now, Jude, all these things you have said didn't make a lot of sense. But people say that the system has used poverty and illiteracy to emasculate the people. That there are much more illiterate people in Nigeria. That when you are speaking all this grammar, now there are so many people who are cut off from hearing you. They can't understand you. And so religious and ethnic bigots always go to them. Say, look, you are like me. We are from the same village. We speak the same language. Don't listen to that man who is from another place. So illiteracy and poverty are a big challenge. How do we overcome that if the youth, like you have said, across Nigeria are to come together with one voice to move Nigeria to the direction that we're all dreaming for?
Yeah, I will not say that we can get this thing eradicated one day, because they have seriously and sincerely weaponized in the nation by way of inflicting serious degree of poverty and ensuring that certain persons don't get some level of education they should get so that they don't get advanced and exposed. I'll tell you some of the things President Jonathan attempted to do before we left office in 2015. That was the Almajiri school. He saw the reasons why kids must be taken off the street and go to school. And you know, I said the first place of failure is from the classroom. Now, if you don't give these kids education, you don't expose them to what they need to know and how they should go about their day-to-day activities. Whatever any person come to brainwash them with, they take it. Now, if you now again deny a child education, you deny a child the right to evil feeding, then the child now rests at your mercy. And so certain leaders and certain persons that have ruled this nation, like the political class, have seen it that if you increase the level of poverty and towards the election period, I'll ask you a question. You see persons that don't come to see you before election, come to see you during election. That sends a message. It sends a message because they now understand that they've made you hungry. They understand that you are lacking. You are in need. And so, but where I'm coming from is the fact that citizens must now take a back seat and ask themselves, am I worth a visit after every 4 years? Am I like the World Cup that they play after every 4 years? Is it that when a man comes after 4 years and gives me 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 3,000 naira, is that what I'm worth for the next 4 years? Or should I demand from this man accountability and good governance? So when a man comes to you and tells you he wants to give you ABC, you say, no, what do you have to offer? Why do you want to be president? Why do you want to be a governor? Why do you want to be a minister? Why do you want to be a senator? Not why alone. How do you intend to drive these things you say you want to give to us? If you say you want to fight security and end security, what steps are you going to put in place? Understanding the fact that our military are underfunded, our military are not, their welfare is not well taken care of. The relatives and families of the military personnel are not even living in an environment where they will be proud that their fathers, mothers, brothers and sisters are serving the nation. How do you address this? How do you make the confidence and boost the morale of those people that are already serving before you talk about those who want to re-enlist? What are the kind of equipment, the gadgets you want to provide for them? And how do you source these things? Now, when you say these things, even those in the security field have a reassurance that this person knows what we are lacking and knows what to give to us when he comes on board. The families, dependents, and those that are equally living within this formative society understand that this is what this person wants to give to us. If you are talking about education, excuse me, you see, in our educational system, Nigeria is suffering from two parts of it. The first part, there is an education imbalance between the developed country and the developing countries, which will fall under as the developing country. That's the global north. Then even in the Nigerian context, even in the Nigerian context, we have a problem too. There's a problem between the urban and the rural area in education balance. So how do you encourage people to go to the rural areas, to go and provide quality and sound education to our brothers and sisters that are not privileged to be in the urban city? So how do you ensure, because they sit for the same JAM, they sit for the same WAEC, they sit for the same unity exams, but the quality of education they receive at board, they are not the same. How do you provide these things? How do you encourage teachers through incentives, through security, through promises and through hope to make them know that they can settle in this community?
Jude, you know, you're speaking so well here. I'm listening to you and I'm enjoying your speech like this. And we have actually left the issue because we are looking at Nigeria now as our country and how we can make it better, which I mean very excited for you and the way you are speaking. Does this your ideas that you have I don't know whether to use the word percolate. Do the leaders of your party, do they share these ideals? If they come into office, are we ready? Are they ready to give us these kind of ideals that you are sharing here to make this egalitarian Nigeria, which all Nigerians dream about? Why so many young Nigerians are jackpying and running away from their country in droves on a daily basis? Is this ideal your personal, or is it percolating within your party that when they come into office, we are going to be seeing some of these things manifesting in our country?
I can assure you clearly, as much as it's an idea I hold strong and hold sacred, my party shares the same view too. We've had serious conversation around and about.
People will say that you guys were there for 16 years.
Now, I will tell you some of the things we did under President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Those things are not present again. They were there, they were grants for lecturers because of his belief in the educational system. See, there were scholarships and awards given to young people to further their career and improve their education. The educational system, it was under President Jonathan we had a creation of 12 additional universities. Now, the reasons were around it was fact. We had a conversation that most of the persons, I don't know which state you are from, I am from Edo State. A whole lot of folks that graduated from university early before some years from Delta State had either graduated from the University of Benin or the University of Port Harcourt, because the closest federal university they had there was either the University of Benin or the University of Port Harcourt. But if they had a federal university in Delta State, they would have attended the university in Delta State. So people that graduated from like Kogi, Nasarawa, and some of the neighboring states, they all went to Ahmadu Bello University in Uganda. So we said, okay, education, yeah, as much as we can decentralize education, make people don't need to travel far, but it is something that everybody should have. People don't need to pay far to go far for education. We had there was an upgrade of our educational system, from polytechnic to polytechnic, some to degree awarding institutions. These are because there is a passion and an ideal tied to it. The agricultural sector was receiving a very strong, robust presence of government. Our economy was one of the fastest growing then, and you know it was an economic destination that was assessed not by by the then administration, but by Global Index. So it tells you that if you have a man of strong character, a man of principle, and a man above it all that has this emotional tie with what he or she wants to achieve, we can get this result. Are we going to have it now? In the coming election, I have one vote, but I'm telling you what my party will do. But Nigerians again still have a right and a duty to estray all the manifestos of all the political parties, and not just estraying them. You check them back to who they are and who they were and what they will turn to be. Who they are, who they were, and what they will turn to be. Will they have the capacity to translate from what they have promised to reality? Those are the things you need to check out and see how you work out.
People have said that, look, it is not about coming up with ideas and all of that. That why are these ideas, for instance, that you are talking about President Jonathan, did he bring it to the Nigerian people to buy into it, so that it is no longer a party effort now, it becomes a Nigerian project, so that anybody who comes to stop that will have to stop Nigerians first? They say people like you are having a covenant with the people, the other party has covenant with this and that has a covenant with that. There are programs already on the ground that need to be finished, that you must first sell it to the people.
Yeah, and I think President Jonathan did better than the present administration in terms of citizens' engagement and citizens' participation.
But why is it that the citizens buy into the people who want to destroy what they
like I told you initially, there were several lies that flew on the air, several things that were unchallenged. And the climax of it was when they came up with the Chibok girls issue. And when it all happened, it was a painful exit, but I'm hoping that we have learned lessons from it too, because there were promises that were made in 2015. All those promises were upturned. I will tell you that it's not that they don't make these promises, it's the will to actually match them to their words. Because in 2015, what they told the Nigerian people were part of the reasons why Nigerians voted them. They said they were going to revise the 1 naira to $1. They were also going to revise the pump price, the price of market rice, and all these things were going to change. But if we are honest with ourselves, where we are today is far, 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 far a departure of where we were in 2015. Do we have hope? And I say clearly without contradiction, I feel a sense of heavy burden in me on who is actually going to take over from this administration. Outside the fact of the person will have a strong duty of, again, attempting to reunify the Nigerian people, reactivate the energy of unity and oneness and the comraderness among us, we're equally going to be looking at strong economic challenges. The security will not even be the major. The strong economic challenges, the borrowing and the unaccounted expenditure that have been tied to our tellers and our legend, these are problems that such government will be confronted with. Now, whether they will make the promises, everybody will make the promise. But it is left for the citizens to decide on which and who they believe they can trust.
But that's where we are, Jude. I know we're running out of time. Promises have been made before and broken, because most of these promises are not tied to reality. Like the one you just gave example, now $1 to $1 pump price coming down and all of that. So all these covenant parties are promising, and they are not in tandem.
The citizens will use their power.
How do we do that?
Citizens, see,
people have
if you watch, my brother, if you watch the consciousness and the active participation of citizens in last electoral processes, it's not like this in this cycle. Okay. And secondly, with the kind of reforms INEC have placed on ground, a lot of citizens are now more than assured that they are going to have a system that can give them opportunity to elect who they want to govern them and who wants to lead them. So I'm hopeful that we are honestly going to have a departure of when people make promises they will not keep. Because if what happened in NSAS happened and is not an eye-opener to Nigerian government, what will befall of any government that emerge in 2023 and want to undermine the Nigerian citizens' right will be worse than it.
All right, on that hopeful note, I guess we can leave it there. That's the voice of Comrade Jude Gabriel Emagwe, joining us this afternoon on Politics Now to look at the issue of electoral violence in our country. Comrade Jude, I want to really appreciate you for joining us this afternoon to look at these issues. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ernest, for having me.
I sincerely hope that I enjoyed talking with you, so I hope that next time you have some space and we invite you, you will oblige us.
It's national duty, right?
Okay, you can say that again.
Thank you.
So much.
God bless you
For joining us. Yeah. And to you out there, I want to appreciate you and all my colleagues from operating from behind the scenes here. Don't forget, Politics Now returns to your radio. That is Citizen FM 93.7 here in Abuja tomorrow afternoon by 3 p.m. My name is Ernest. I'll see you tomorrow. Do have yourself a wonderful day.
Is our journey. We have had our finest moments and our darkest hours. Yet we pull ourselves back from the brink every time. We are a resilient people. We are Nigeria. And when we talk, we share our views on Talk Radio 93.7, Citizen FM. A people united will never be defeated.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Super Citizen at Sunset on Citizen FM 93.7. This is the fun-packed radio show you heard about. Did you miss any one of our programming today? Join me, Didi, from the Citizen Pot when we run through our programs from sunrise. Stay abreast, get informed on news roundup. It even gets better.